our kids go to their in-laws. And so we go fight.
Yeah, we're gonna defer that until whole business.
We normally would do it at 4 Chinese.
Yeah.
So it's one place that they don't look up and then goes a movie. But they're in the movie, one say so.
Yeah.
Whole business is starting after new business. And he might be taking care of business.
Don't show it, don't show it.
Yes, that was for December, man.
Until next meeting. Alrighty. Well, good evening, everybody. Tonight we will start the meeting for the Whitley County Board of Zoning Appeals for November 25th, 2025. First order of business is a call to order and a roll call. Mr. Brent.
Absolutely. Jack Green.
Here.
Kelly Sheese.
Here.
Danny Wilkinson.
Here.
Joe Wolf.
Here.
And Doug Wright.
Here.
Okay, we have a copy of the October 28th meeting before us for, if you've had a chance to look at, we'll look at a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion by Jack, second by Kelly to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes. Our next order of business is an oath to witnesses. If you plan to speak for any reason, whether you're a petitioner or whether you're here for or against or have questions, you will need to take an oath. Elizabeth Deckard, our counsel, will administer the oath at this time.
Can you please stand and raise your right hand? If you plan on speaking tonight, you should stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that any statements made before the board tonight will be the truth? If so, state I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. We do have some old business, but seeing we will move it to the bottom of our agenda, and we will start off with new business.
Just to make sure, is the petitioner here for the Hernandez's? Okay, that's what I thought. So,
okay. All right. First item of business is 25W Variance 24 Thrills RV. A variance of sign number and area. The approximate address is 3590 East Lincolnway. Nathan, go ahead and give us your staff report, please.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So moving this, going to the slides here. This is approximately 3600 East Lincolnway, 3608, 3600, one of those addresses. Zone GC General Commercial. Overall site is about a little over 12 acres. The nature of the variance is related to the desire to install two identification signs, one on the US 30 frontage and one on the Lincolnway frontage. And then in addition to the number of signs, the total area between them actually winds up exceeding the 300 square foot maximum that's allowed, which makes sense. You have more than one sign, odds are it's going to be total size is going to be bigger. All of that is shown there in that table. Other than the number and total area, the signs are proposed to be compliant with the sign code. So your two variances are for total area and then the number. Aerial view of the site highlighted in blue. The two RV places, including the current location of Thrills, are just to the west. Immediately to the west is Bart's Car Store, and you can see here a little closer view. Elevations of the proposed signs, as I mentioned, the dimensions, the height, and so on, all are compliant with the sign code for pole signs and ground signs. The proposed locations of the signs, the one along the US 30 frontage would be here, and the one along Lincolnway would be up here. And the sketch footprint of their buildings here, a little bit more refined site plan is this, still a sketch plan. I think they actually just today filed the proposed development plan, so this is still tentative. Going to the review criteria, let's see, gotta switch my notes around since we've changed the order. Generally speaking, staff doesn't find that signs would be helpful if they were handed to me in the right order.
I apologize, that'd be my fault.
That one's yours. Yeah, it's all good. Generally, signs aren't objectionable or injurious, to the public health or morals. Because of the distance between these two signs, public safety, which is occasionally impacted by having so many signs be along one frontage, wouldn't be impacted. These are more than 600 feet apart, essentially making them single signs. Total sign area, as I mentioned, is a function of the number of signs. So if you look at either of them individually, they would be under that cap. Use and value of the adjacent area, really, again, anybody along any of the frontages, once the site is developed, really would only be seeing one sign at a time. So the effects would be similar to any other commercial development that would have one sign as a compliant sign. And then finally, strict application. Anytime we have multiple road frontages, this can be an issue in this particular case because of the size and separation of these two signs. It does feel like there is a practical difficulty that's created, plus the fact of trying to gain attention off of the US 30, attract attention off the US 30 frontage, and then provide identification of the location along Lincolnway. As you go farther west, those signs can kind of serve double duty because you do get to be smaller and smaller as you go west into that wedge. This is kind of getting to be large enough at 12 acres. You don't have that, the ability quite so much, unless you put up a really big sign, and of course that has its own problems and wouldn't be compliant with the spirit and intent of the code. So that's the synopsis of the staff report. Any questions for me?
I see none, Nathan. Thank you very much. At this time, would a petitioner or representative of please come forward? Please state your name and address for the record and tell us what it is that you want to do with your variance.
That's you.
Okay.
So we would just like to have a visibility on East Lincoln Way and then also on 30.
Your name and address,
Oh,
please.
sorry. Jared Hosteller, 444 South Butterstone Trail in Lake Trail Estates of Columbia City.
So you'd like to have two signs, one visible from US 30.
And US 30 out on the frontage, and then also when people come in off of the East Lincoln Way, we would like to be able to have a sign there so then they were to turn in.
Okay. All right.
The sign on East Lincoln Way is a small sign. Like, it's not like a big billboard. It's more of a small sign just to direct traffic in. The one on Lincoln Way would be within the limits, obviously, of what we need to do out there, but to show that right now you would turn off on 300, I think it is, and then come back on Lincoln Way, which would be kind of a frontage road. Who knows what's going to happen with, turning it into a interstate where that goes, but either way, being able to show that we have a sign out by the pond, which is proposed there.
Board, is there any other questions of the petitioner? Seeing none, thank you. You may have a seat.
Thank you.
At this time, we will open the public hearing for anybody who wants to speak for or against or has questions for this variance. We'll open the podium at this time. All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for the board's favor on this.
I move we approve 25W variance 24 for Thrills RV for the installation of 2 identification signs at their operation.
I'd second that.
Okay, we have a motion to accept or approve the variance and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, go to a vote. All those in favor of granting the variance for 25W variance 24, signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. You may stay for the rest of the meeting, or you may go if you have something else to do.
We'd like to sit and watch.
It can be entertaining at times.
Pressure
Oh,
now.
no, you don't. All right, moving on to our next piece of business. It is 25W Special Exception 15, Triad Indiana Holding LLC for outdoor storage for steel laydown yard. The address is 2534 East, 100 South. Nathan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, again. So going to these slides. Well, the existing facility is 2534 East, 100 South. The approximate address of the property in question is approximately 2600. It lies just east of the existing facility, zoned IPM Industrial Park Manufacturing. It too, coincidentally, is just over 12 acres in size. What is being proposed is a steel laydown yard. Comes before you because this is outdoor storage. Special exceptions for outdoor storage. The board, I'm not sure we hear that many of them, honestly, but usually with our industrial parks, everything's pretty well screened. So in this case, the outdoor storage, the screening, or when we look at them, the screening is what we look at to make sure that it's properly done and so on. Of course, there are other aspects to it as part of the special exception, but buffering is the primary reason why we're here. This would expand the existing steel laydown yard from the west to the east, it includes 2 gravel access drives to 100 South, proposed to be entrance only, exit only, and then berms and landscaping are proposed along the north and east sides. Other than width, the specifications of those were left open-ended as part of the filing, basically hoping that the discussions tonight can yield exactly what needs to happen with that. So again, that's going to be the primary topic of discussion. Looking at aerial view, highlighted there in blue, is the overall parent tract. It's only the western, say, half of that is the area in question, so this. The remainder over here would still be available for subdivision into further lots. This is lot 1 of Rogers Market subdivision, so this could be further subdivided in the future. And you can see US 30 lies to the southwest, Triad's existing facility, and then Sailrite to the west. Along the north, you have what is now REMC's solar field here, and then you have homes, fields, and development property to the south and east, and then field and homes immediately to the east. beyond the future subdivision. Oblique view, just for additional perspective. This is the sketch site plan showing the dimensions of the steel laydown yard area. As I mentioned, entrance only, and then oblique back up, and then width here for berms, mounds, if you want to call them that, and then either landscaping or some other sort of buffering is expected as part of that. So to that end, these are staff's suggested conditions. Just quickly, I guess I'll jump to the review criteria before going to the conditions. Generally speaking, the special exception should not be expected to cause any dangerous, injurious, or noxious conditions. Noise is often an issue, but again, that's one reason that we're looking at buffering. If there's outdoor welding, which is probably going to be a rarity, but if there was, that could actually constitute glare. And again, adequate buffering should minimize or even negate that impact. Special exception being sited, oriented, and so on. Again, between an expansion of the existing facility and whatever buffering we have tonight, that should be expected. Same thing with the visual impression, trying to go for minimizing any negative impacts on that. Vehicular access and parking to minimize traffic congestion in the neighborhood. The additional driveways on the 100 South do need to be reviewed by the county highway and county engineer. Can't guarantee that that will be acceptable to them. Even if it was one driveway, it doesn't seem like the amount of traffic coming from this use really would create traffic congestion. This is an industrial area, it should be expected to have traffic. 100 South is also being planned for next year to be reconstructed, so it doesn't really impact, again, traffic congestion, but the wear and tear on the road should be, again, dealt with. And then staff feels that because this is an industrial use in an industrial area, it does seem to still preserve the purpose of the ordinance. That said, these are staff's suggested conditions, which I do suggest that you, as necessary, discuss with petitioner and anyone else here who wants to talk about it to make sure that we have a good buffering package. So number one is a pretty standard condition that it be granted as presented. Number two, buffer screening shall be installed on the north and east sides of the property, the standards of which being a minimum effective height of 9 feet as measured from the elevation of adjacent roadways, so 100 South and Rogers Market to the east. Of that 9 feet, a minimum berm height of 3 feet would be required. 3 feet would be about not the highest you can go and still fit in that 42-foot wide area that they have on their site plan. You could go a little higher, but it's a fairly safe height for mowing and maintenance purposes. If you go higher, it becomes more difficult. You have other issues, but you can go higher if you desire. That, though, also works nicely with Part C, which would be an additional 6 feet worth of either conifer trees spaced no more than 20 feet on center, a double row, and that is different than what our buffer requirement is per the code. Code only requires a single row, so this would be a double row at the same spacing. Same thing for option number 2, double row of 1.5-inch deciduous shade trees spaced no more than 30 feet on center. 1.5-inch shade trees are at installation about 6 feet in height, or a 6-foot or a 6-foot opaque fence. So that in combination with that berm would create a effective height of 9 feet, or it could be taller. Number 3, basically applying the same to the south property line. If there's any clearing done to the south property line, then what's applied to the north and east would then be applied to the south. Currently, the south has a fairly extensive and dense existing tree line, so it doesn't feel necessary to put it there. But if that's disturbed for some reason, should be replaced. As I mentioned, number 4, driveways need to be reviewed. Number 5, explicit statement that interior drives may be gravel, as we've done with industrial uses before, allowing for heavy vehicles to use gravel or slag. I believe slag may be an option, but either one. Non-hard surface, quote unquote. And then finally, 6 and 7 are standard conditions dealing with lighting and signage, just to restate those standards. So any questions for me?
Nathan, the buffer screening is just for the proposed red area. It does not include the existing facility screening.
That's the way it's written, yes. If you feel that there needs to be a discussion about working back towards the existing facility along one south or along the west or US 30, as the case may be, that's open for you and the petitioner to discuss, but the way I wrote it, it was only applicable to the new acreage.
Okay, thank you.
What's the zoning of the property directly to the east?
Directly to the east, I believe, to the east of the parent tract.
East of this tract they're petitioning.
That too is IPM industrial. So
All the way to the road, even with that? All the way north to the road up there, is that whole tract is IPM?
yeah, so this is, here I'll just show you on the aerial. So this is our subject area here. This is also IPM. To the south is general commercial. So which area are you talking about, Danny?
This is IPM?
That is IPM.
What's this?
IPM as well.
Okay. Petitioner owns this site?
The petitioner's, the current owner is the one selling to the petitioner. So this will be split.
So the petitioner right now won't own this further to the east?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, the petitioner is only going to own the area in question
Okay,
here.
that's okay. This makes a difference to me on the buffering, whether they own that or don't.
Of course.
All right. Any more questions, board? Nathan, thank you very much. So, if the petitioner or representative of would please come forward, please state your name and address and tell us about your special exception.
Name is Steve Fryman, 2217 Longleaf Drive in Fort Wayne. We own, this is our second facility in Columbia City. We also own the one on East Rail Connect Drive. We outgrew that facility and expanded to 100 South here and have now outgrown that facility. The building to the west there, we would like to expand that. What you see there, the steel sitting outside of that, we would use this new property development to move some of the steel over there to create more manufacturing inside that building. So I'm just looking for more space. The steel layout, other than the orientation, would be what you would see. Also securing the land for potentially even more development of building and manufacturing.
All right, board, questions?
In regard to the buffering, first, we appreciate you choosing to have Whitley County as your place of business. Would it be a deterrent for you to look at if we talked about buffering around the whole and going out and looking at the existing area, and I want to call it I almost want to call it the south, but it'd be kind of the 30 roadside going down here, I guess, in between Sailrite. Would the opportunity arise if we're going to have buffering on the other side of the property to include buffering around the existing facility as well?
We have a pretty open mind. I mean, have to evaluate the cost of doing so. If Sailrite doesn't have any objections with us being their neighbors and looking at our ugly steel, then, you know, I would certainly hear their concerns if they voiced a concern like, hey, you know, this isn't something that we appreciate looking at every day. We're friendly neighbors. And I'd have the same statement back to Rogers. You're calling it IPM. I don't know what that means. Rogers Drive. We've kicked this around. We have a berm now between the property that we just purchased and our current property. You know, Rogers suggested a fence there and some sort of screening. We prefer berms. If this makes any sense at all, and again, I'm not opposed to screening or whatever you propose. It just, as a matter of working in this industry, the less visibility you have, I think it becomes more of a concern because there's heavy equipment, semis, everything on the other side of this berm. So having it 4 or 5, we have one in Virginia, the same thing. It's like, it's tall enough, but no equipment's going to run over it, run through it. And then you still have visibility. Like you have your own safety can be taken into your hands if you're driving, because Rogers has a drive at the top of that off of 100 that would head south towards 30. Potentially with other people and traffic and businesses going in there, we think that they should have some visibility to what's on the other side of the fence if you're moving steel and heavy equipment around. But again, we're not opposed to it, but maybe like a clear, like a mesh that you could kind of still see through. And then, so if you put a berm on it, our question would be like, do you want the fence on top of the berm? You know, then mowing and all those things come in question. So the berms are the safest thing to do in our experience, but we're not opposed to some suggestions on how to do it. And I would take Sale Wright's opinion into the matter.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
Learned something, so.
Yeah, no problem at all. We don't think it's ugly. We think it's beautiful. I mean, it's all bought at Steel Dynamics and brought down the road. So, you know, it's part of Columbia City with that business there. But, yeah, it's not everybody's cup of tea, right? If
I'm
it's
just
just
a big, like, balanced person, so if we're gonna say that it needs to be on one side, would it?
Yeah, and that was a question of ours when that was first raised, is like, we only have a berm now. So I don't know when the zoning decided that maybe we were grandfathered in. We've only had that property for about 12 years. So like somehow the berms were okay. So the fence was just, you know, we were unaware that it was a requirement already. So, you know, I guess in that light, we hadn't even put any more thought to putting up fencing or like how to make it aesthetically pleasing. But again, I just asked that we balance aesthetics for safety, for visibility for people coming in and out.
Thank you.
No problem.
I do have a question, and it's more of a clarification than anything. You've outgrown this site, as you said. So, what would your traffic flow, would it be somewhat the same as it is now? You're just expanding so you have more laydown area for your pilings and beams and that?
I would expect some semi-traffic growth and, you know, more jobs down there. So you're going to have, you know, maybe 6 to 10 more cars a day coming and going to work, and potentially in a good day, business is good, another 10 to 20 semis a day pulling in and out of there. And didn't come up yet, but that's the reason for the drives, just a safety thing. We don't want trucks for any reason to have to back out of, you know, onto 100. That would be a nightmare. So we want to give them a loop, but we can put the, you know, the entrance or the exit on our current existing property line now, with the second lane, in the middle of the new property.
And when Kelly was asking about buffering, I was thinking, well, if you were going to add 2 more driveways over here to the east, and now I didn't know whether you were going to cut out a driveway here on your existing property, about maybe putting some buffering on the north side there along 100. Because I know it's hard because those trucks, those flatbeds have fixed axles. It takes a ways to turn them.
Yep.
And that. So, but I didn't know whether you might have considered that. So.
Do you mind if I walk to the picture?
Yeah, that's fine.
Be on the record.
Go right ahead.
So the premise is the same here. They either enter here and come back, and you see a truck parked right here. So for example, so we'll bring the steel to him here or here. Or they can pull in the building and get loaded, and they pull out. So whether they come here where this truck's getting loaded out here, they're going to exit this way. They go through the building and exit this way and go through. So all traffic moves in this, you know, from west to east. The thought process would be the same here. We would want an entrance here, the steel would be here, they would get pulled and loaded, and then they can exit here, you know, or pull in here. You know, ideally, but Brent made a good point. We were gonna have a road here and here, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense, and the highway department might not love two roads right there. So we're sort of waiting on, you know, especially with the widening coming up, you know, what they want. Worst case scenario, we can leave this more of gravel and give them more angles to come out of, but those are like minor details in our opinion. We just want to create traffic. But having a lane here already is kind of where our heads went. We already have one, so we just really need one on this property.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, no objection to that.
And this is just my suggestion for me, knowing the area, watching trucks come and go out of there for quite a few years, make the radiuses
Oh yeah,
quite big.
that's why I wanted to point that out. They go all the way around that basically the width of the property. It gives them plenty of time to make the turn. And we bring overlength material in there. We've loaded beams over 100 foot long on 52 foot flatbed. So.
Any other questions, board? Okay, you may have a seat.
Appreciate your time.
We will open the public hearing. We will hear from anybody who's here to speak for or against or has questions for the petitioner.
Hi, I'm John Rogers, 521 West Washington in Fort Wayne. We're the current owners of the property. We're somewhat prejudiced, but we think your steel's beautiful too. So, I just wanted to clarify maybe a little bit about the discussion of the buffer on the east side. We really are in favor of a berm with trees. We think that solves a maintenance problem over the long term. Fences you can put up, and then after 5-10 years, they look pretty crummy. So we think the trees and the berm would be very nice. So obviously we're in favor of it. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else for or against or has questions for the petitioner? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for their pleasure.
Nathan, just for clarification, that the conditions would allow the flexibility for the berm with the trees, right? It gives the...
Yeah, what the way that's worded, the way I worded it is a 3 foot height, minimum 3 foot berm, and then some combination of trees and or fence. So it could all be conifers, could be all shade, could be pine and shade. Yeah.
Thank you.
Are we ready for a motion?
Yes,
I'll make a favorable motion for 25 WSE 15 along with the suggested conditions, as long as we have everything clarified there. And I believe, like with Kelly, it's not necessary, the way I understand it, A through C and additional. It's a combination of maybe A and number 2, a double row of one, either or. Is that correct?
Yeah, so basically A stipulates its minimum of 9 foot total height. B says that the berm is, of that 9 foot, berm is 3 feet, and then C is 6 feet, is the remaining 6 feet needs to be trees or fence.
So it'd be basically up to the petitioner to pick and choose which ones.
Correct. Yep.
That's what I'd like to have in the special conditions.
I'll second that.
Okay, Jack has made a motion to approve with conditions stated by staff. Kelly has seconded. We'll go through the conditions again. The special exception is granted as presented. Buffer screening shall be installed on the north and east sides of the property. Standards for the screening: minimum total height 9 feet as measured from the elevation of adjacent roadways. Minimum berm height of 3 feet. A combination of following: double row of 6-foot conifers spaced no more than 20 feet on center. Option 2, double row of 1.5-inch deciduous shade trees spaced no more than 30 feet on center. Or option 3, a 6-foot opaque fence, or a combination of all those three. The existing trees and vegetation shall be retained along the south property line. If that is removed, buffering screening shall be installed as stated above. Number 4, the driveway design must be approved by the county engineer and highway department. Number 5, interior drives may be gravel. Number 6, any outdoor lighting be oriented and shielded to prevent light spillage and or glare onto the surrounding residential properties. And 7, any signage will conform to the requirements of the code.
Mr. Chairman, the petitioner has a question.
Go right ahead.
Just want to make sure we're on the same page with the north side. If you see our current property, that's all gravel now. It wouldn't, I'm having a hard time, like if you put a berm on the north side, it would just be between the road and the edge of the property now. You would have trucks going out there that you would just be making like a berm in between the driveways. I'm not sure that the north side makes total sense in my opinion. Or if it does, I'm misunderstanding. East side makes all sense.
That would be. North is the road side. Is that what you're?
Correct. It would be on this site plan, it would be this area up here, which would be this area here.
Well, I will leave it to the board. Would you like to amend that? Leave
I
the north side out for safety reasons of trucks and vehicles pulling in and out of the site?
think if you put a berm, I agree. I think if you put a berm there, it's gonna interfere maybe with the traffic, the semis going in and flatbeds going in and out. So I think that should be amended.
Okay, so yeah, remove north, and it'll be on the east side. Okay. All those in favor of that amendment?
Hold on.
Okay.
Kelly, you were the second, right?
Yes.
Do you agree with the
Yes,
amendment?
I
Okay,
will
I'm sorry.
second that amendment.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of that amendment, please signify by raising your right hand. And all those opposed, the amendment passes. Now we'll move on to the motion for approval with the conditions stated and the amendment to number 2. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. So, our third piece of business which was old business. There has been a petitioner or representative of the Hernandez petition here yet?
I am not seeing.
I do not see a petitioner here.
Need a motion to table
Okay.
it to December?
Well, we move it on down the road, take the can down.
If you would.
This is the second time we've showed up for this, and it's not here. Or
Yeah, we don't necessarily have control whether they show up or not to let you know. We didn't know they were not gonna be here either.
Right, but at a certain point, and just shouldn't they have to refile so we can get notified by mail again?
Right, so the way that our policy is there's one administrative continuance allowed, basically that was last time. And then tonight, if the board wishes to have a continuance, it's going to be by their motion and to a specific meeting. So it's your discretion at this point what you do with it.
My thoughts would be, let's give them one more opportunity and move it down another
December.
next
To the December
month.
meeting?
And after that, if it's no show, then we move on.
They will have to
We
refile
have to refile, yes.
and that, so.
Nathan, do you agree with that?
It is your call, that's why our
Yeah.
policy is
You're
the way it
making a
is.
motion, Jack?
I make a motion that we give them one more opportunity.
Kelly makes a motion, or Jack makes a motion to continue it to the December meeting. Kelly has seconded it. And if they do not show up for the December meeting, they will have to refile that.
Need to vote on that.
So, and we will vote on that. Okay, all those in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, vote is 4-1.
And for the record, that is December 23rd.
I thought, well, I don't know what their situation is.
December 23rd.
Who was the opposition vote?
Okay. Other business. Kelly, you had brought up something.
Quick question, and we have an esteemed commissioner in the room. I know we have planning commission members on here, and for Nathan and Brent. Has there been any discussion given to either an ordinance or development standards for data centers? We have them for wind, we have them for solar, we have them for confined feeding.
So that wasn't the question I was expecting, Kelly.
I like to keep you on your toes, Nathan.
Thank you. So short answer, no. Data centers, the ones that we've heard about, we've considered them industrial, so they'd go into our industrial areas. If we're looking at small to moderate sized ones, we have industrial zone land, probably large enough that one could go in there. But anything that's fairly large would require a rezoning, similar to solar. So that's the current situation. Kind of like what we did with solar, probably going to let things play out a little bit more before we start to nail down codes, because, well, just because.
Just trying to be a little proactive instead of
Right.
reactive, so.
Yeah, I don't want to be totally reactive. I do want to be proactive, but I do want, again, let some of the newness wear off a little bit, some of the codes shake out. Very similar to solar. We weren't on the leading edge of solar, nor were we well behind everybody else. Allen County is actually well behind everybody else for what it's worth. So,
All right,
um,
that's all I have on that one.
okay.
You want to bring up the other one, or do you want me to bring it up?
I'll bring up the other one. That is the special exception issue that's under other business. This is an issue I bring to you. It's got multiple parts. It's a very specific location in play, but it does have some interpretation parts to it. That's why it's under other business rather than being a regular item of business. So what we're looking at is 8324 West State Road 14. So this is the special exception that we have down near Collimer, east of Collimer and 14. To give everybody a reminder of the history of the property, what we are looking at, this started out in 2017 with a special exception for a secondary dwelling unit, which was approved. That converted a detached garage to a dwelling for family. That has since been converted into an Airbnb. Originally, Airbnbs are generally protected by state law, and with the rezoning, it's actually a permitted use anyway. Then came 22 WSE 7, which was also approved. That was a special exception for processing of agricultural products not produced on site, which is a very broad category of uses. It can include, as in this case, a microbrewery, but it could include a corn processor, corn syrup processing, ethanol processor, all sorts of different things, wide scale. That's why it's kind of a catch-all. That's why it's a special exception. Included in that, and where most of the focus lay in that discussion, was an accessory retail operation, aka a tap room. Essentially, you produce it, and then you have a little outlet associated with it for retail. You could do growlers to go, have some small tasting, and so on. That was what was in 2022. There was a list of 10 conditions attached to that approval. I'll show you the conditions in a minute. So that was that nature. By 2024, we had determined that there were some flaws in what was being done. There were some changes that had been made without staff's knowledge, let alone the board's knowledge. And so the owner had come through with 24 WSE 9 to renew the special exception, which again is one of the conditions of in that 10 conditions from above, but more importantly to revise those conditions, including expanding the area of the use, the hours were to be revised to better suit what they were actually doing, a few other things, but those were the major ones. That special exception wound up being denied after a lengthy discussion. So that then, the next option was to go through the Plan Commission, not so much as an end around conditions here, but to go through a legislative process rather than a quasi-judicial process. And they applied for a rezoning to commercial, village commercial, but commercial. That was approved by the commissioners, ultimately by the commissioners with zoning commitments. Those zoning commitments primarily restricted quite a few different uses in the permitted uses list in the village commercial district. It also required them to make sure that they got NDOT permitting for their commercial driveway and compliance with whatever requirements of NDOT, whatever they had. So in the village commercial zoning, restaurant, farm market, and bed and breakfast are all permitted uses. So those aspects of what's going on at this address are permitted uses. The brewery, as a processing of agricultural crops not produced on site, is still a special exception under VC commercial as well. If we want to consider the tap room to be a bar, our zoning code places bar/nightclub, for some reason lumps those two things together, only in general commercial. So it's not permitted at all under village commercial or any other district other than general commercial. And then banquet halls, if we want to consider event centers, reception halls, whatever you want to call it, all falls under the term banquet hall under our zoning code. That would be a special exception as well. All of these things are leading to an interpretation, several different questions. But as I mentioned, there were 10 conditions of approval of 22 WSE 7. I've highlighted a few here, which I'll explain, but I'll just go in order for just in order. So number one, it's non-transferable. Property hasn't transferred, so that's currently compliant. Special exception is granted as presented. That's somewhat compliant, somewhat not. As I mentioned, there were things that had changed and the zoning application changed. Number three, it's in purple. It no longer applies. That is specific to the area of the tap room. Because it's now zoned commercial and restaurant uses are permitted, that supersedes then this condition. It's a moot condition. Number four is still in effect. Number five, noise from the special exception will not exceed 50 decibels. That is still in effect. However, it could be argued, is that from the brewery? Is that from the tap room? So there's some nuance to that one. Number 6 is fully compliant as best as I understand it from the health department. Number 7 is again a moot point because the restaurant component replaces the tap room and therefore replaces that condition. Number 8, I believe, is compliant. Number 9 is to be discussed. As growth occurs, an alternate location for the use should be identified. And then number 10 is not compliant at this point, being that this was adopted in May or June. Anyway, in 2022, and 3 years from 2022 brings us to 2025. As I mentioned back in 24, that was the purpose of that special exception, to try and renew the special exception. But since it was denied, the brewing operation time limitation is still outstanding. So we do have that issue. All of that is summarized here on this slide. The current status: restaurant is a permitted use in lieu of tap room. Bar is not permitted. Brewing operation, as defined by, as falling under processing of agricultural crops, would be a special exception. It's currently a special exception, approved special exception with the timeline. Legal non-conforming in some ways. If it weren't for the time expiration, it's now beyond its limitations. So that is an issue. Event center uses in question. If it is operating as more of an event center, it would require a special exception. We don't have any real definitions as to something that's somewhere in between, say, a restaurant and an event center. So things that are outdoor venues, auditoriums, what am I trying to think of? Outdoor venues, basically. So that's not something that's in the zoning code. Amphitheaters, thank you. That in some ways is more of where some of the noise is being generated when they have music events outside. It's entertainment for the restaurant patrons, but is it always? So that's the status, leading to, I've got 4 different questions here on 2 different slides. So number 1 is, what exactly is the definition of bar/nightclub under the zoning code? The definition that I put up there is the first definition out of the Planner's Dictionary, which is this fine resource material. It's not a Bible, but it's a good reference material. So that definition basically says an area primarily devoted to the serving of alcoholic beverages and in which the service of food is only incidental to the consumption of such beverages. It's my understanding that this is probably right on the line. Food is a big important piece of this, and that's why it feels like it is a restaurant, but so is the alcohol. It wouldn't be here if it weren't for the microbrewery portion of it. But food is a good component. However, there is a time when perhaps the restaurant isn't in operation and there are patrons there, which leads me to the question about banquet halls, which is the next slide. Definition of restaurant. This perhaps is a little bit more clear-cut, however, maybe it's not. 2 definitions, again, from the Planner's Dictionary. A structure in which the principal use is the preparation and sale of food and beverages. That's pretty broad. And then the other one that seemed to maybe fit here, any establishment, however designated, meaning whatever you call it, at which food is sold for consumption on the premises to patrons seated within an enclosed building or elsewhere on the premises. So either enclosed or not enclosed. Go figure. Again, pretty broad, but the main thing is a restaurant is where you have food service. So both those are pretty broad. Maybe applies here, maybe not, but again, kind of looking at a general definition. Third question for the board is the definition of banquet hall / event center. Our code calls it out as banquet hall. Event center is another term. Reception hall is yet another term. And these three are ones that, again, came from the Planner's Dictionary. A facility or hall available for lease by private parties. So basically that is a dedicated facility available for lease, or I suppose you could say it's part of another facility that is available for dedicated lease. So you rent out a banquet room at a restaurant for a night, for example. That could be a banquet hall. An establishment which is rented by individuals or groups to accommodate private functions, including but not limited to banquets, weddings, anniversaries, and other similar celebrations. That places more emphasis on the types of activities, weddings, anniversaries, banquets, as opposed to maybe birthday parties, smaller events, things that you might be holding at a restaurant in their family room, for example. More dedicated. And then the third one would be a meeting facility, which may also include on-site kitchen catering facilities, banquet hall / reception hall's primary purpose is a location for activities such as weddings and other gatherings by appointment. Okay, that really makes it sound like it's truly dedicated, but that definition then says, in some cases, a restaurant may be associated with a reception hall. So it kind of flips it. So in my opinion, in no way do those definitions really come into the nature of what's going on down there, because it's very much defining a dedicated structure as opposed to an activity. However, the activities going on, there's some overlap there. So that's my opinion. You guys can give me some feedback on it. And that all then leads to what are the distinctions between banquet hall uses and restaurant uses. What's the overlap? What distinguishes a restaurant use where you might have events being held in the back room, for example, the family room, or a banquet hall that also has a restaurant attached to it? So those are some questions in general. All of which is a lot to throw at you all at once. And, I do have one more slide. So this is Google Street View. I haven't had a chance to get photos down there. It's kind of hard to get photos from the road, but this is as of August of this year. So you can see the current status there at the time. So, ask for the board's discussion.
I'll go ahead since I have brought it up. And first of all, with all due respect to my fellow BZA members that are planning commission members and the commissioner in the room, I think when we look back at Village Commercial District, and that's water under the bridge, but if you read the district intent, it's that the Planning Commission and BZA should strive to use this district only in the downtown area and its immediate surroundings and make it compatible with rural residential, mixed residential and lake residential districts. Well, how is this zoned around it?
It's all ag.
It's all ag. And it also says that Village Commercial ideally require municipal water or sewer hookup unless it is not available in the community. And I think what spurred me on this is a couple things. First of all, is the lack of this special exception being abided by when we, as a BZA, put those conditions forth, and they were blatantly disregarded. And we've had other petitioners, lumber yards, Spring Green, we were asking them to come back in 5 years for their parking lot. And we've asked them to abide by those conditions, and they've come back and they've done it. And in this case, they didn't. So very rightfully so, they rezoned to Village Commercial. Whether that's the right spot to do it or not, no. Whether it was the right spot for the other event center that the is it Portman's in Jefferson Township that we approved. So I went back and looked at some of the things, and that is they're looking at an event center there. Of course, they don't have neighbors right adjacent, but we required them to do screening, special lighting.
Road.
Well, and that was voluntarily for them, a road, but a whole host of other things. I'm still going to challenge this on whether this is really a restaurant. If you look at anything online, nowhere is a restaurant mentioned, and I don't know how many restaurants bring in food trucks on a regular basis because that would be competition. In addition to that, when you have an event that requires people to be parked at the high school and be shuttled down, isn't it grand that we could have something that big? But that is an event. And my concern is that, and I'll be the first to say, I've been there once. The food is wonderful. I think the premise is wonderful. I know they have in that meeting, when they came back before us in July of 2024, that no, looking at an alternative location was not an option. So their choice is to stay there. But I would question and our challenge is definitions. But I'm not sure where a tap room becomes a restaurant and where we're having special events there, whether it be for people, for programs, for other things. You know, I look at Union 12, they do their food truck nights and bring out food trucks. They do other things there. I think
they are considered an event center.
They are considered an event center. I think we're disregarding something that needs to be addressed, and that's just my personal opinion. And I have expressed my concerns with both Nathan and Brent and with the county commissioners, at least two of them.
For what it's worth, I agree with what she said. I don't think they're abiding by what we've asked them to.
I agree with that too. I do. I think they're skirting, just not blatantly over the edge, but they're over the edge.
And I think the
They're-
challenge is
they're-
we need to look at our zoning code and have some more definitions, because I mean, I'll be the first to say, and I hate gray areas. But I do think when we make requirements of certain people, like we did, whether it was the Amish lumberyard or whether it was the Jefferson Township couple that's putting up their event center, and I went back and looked at those conditions. Here we have nothing as it relates to lighting, nothing as it relates to maybe some additional screening for those areas. It's just village commercial right there in the middle of nowhere on both. And on one of them we required how many conditions?
10?
On Portman's?
On Portman's we required 10.
Well, I was thinking of this.
Yeah, we were, well, and I know some of the conditions that we originally requested under e-brewing are mute because now they're village commercial, but under Portman's, we even restricted them to hours of operation.
Yeah.
Well, we approved that in good faith, thinking they were, you know, but again, I agree with Kelly, they've kind of slid off the road there a little bit.
But now that they're village commercial and you're calling them a restaurant, they can do their hours whenever, correct?
Yeah.
Which, are they really a restaurant? Because nowhere are they listed a restaurant.
Well, and that's why I bring the question to you. What exactly is a restaurant? What exactly is a bar? Tap room is kind of a bar that's associated with brewery.
And we did require Portman's to have their entire parking area paved. No outdoor storage was permitted. Any dumpster would be enclosed with an opaque screen. The lighting should be oriented. I mean, I know we even did oriented lighting for a storage area up there at Tri Lakes next to Portside. So,
And they had come specifically for being an event center.
Yep.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, and that's where, again, the distinction between what exactly is an event center and a restaurant needs to be hit. Because it is not clear. As you mentioned, having food trucks coming in, that doesn't feel like something a normal restaurant would do because that is competition. Except on maybe rare occasions like with a chili contest or I don't know, something. But on a regular basis, yes. So is it a regular basis? Is it happening all the time? Is I would say an important question. So
There's no statewide definition for a restaurant when it comes to land use or zoning in the state law, but I mean, just if you're gonna go ask somebody on the street what the difference is between an event center and a restaurant, I think it would come down to, are they making food on site or are they bringing it in? Maybe making it on site, but also catering it in.
Yeah.
If you think about an event center. So I think that's probably the easiest distinction that most people would understand.
it's the dedication of facilities for lease,
Right.
for rent is another big component. And again, what's the difference between a restaurant that has a back room that you rent out for the night versus nothing but a room that you rent out for the night?
And what do you consider rent? Is it, well, you just purchase product here, or do you pay?
Or you just have a big group that you're buying meals for everybody.
A reservation
And so,
or
right,
a
for a large
true
group
event.
that accommodates the space that's available.
Right. So I know I'm throwing this at you and I'm not getting a heck of a whole lot of real feedback tonight. So give me some ideas in what we can do as we can start to nail down definitions.
I want to know first, can they go have it rezoned for something higher and be okay?
They could go to general commercial, and event center, restaurant, and bar/nightclub are all permitted.
It's going to happen.
But-
We denied it once. It went to the planning commission, and it went to the commissioners, and they approved it. It's good.
However, if you go to general commercial, the brewing operation would not be permitted. So
We're
let's know
gonna
that one.
deny it, and they're gonna, if they come before us, they'll go to the next general, move up to village commercial.
And if they read their zoning code, they
Yep.
should read that on general commercial.
They'll-
Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals should not encourage strip development, which this would be strip development. It was
Their
also
big thing
spot
has always
zoning.
been the brewery, though. I mean, that's been at the heart of what they've
They're gonna increase,
done.
But
change the
currently-
zoning and bypass us again.
Currently, right now, the brewing itself is not compliant. So they still need a special exception that has been expired. So we also kind of need direction from them on how to enforce that, don't we?
Yeah, normal process would be to notify the petitioner, hey, you have a limitation that's either going to expire or has just expired, and as in this case. You either need to get a special exception, file for special exception review, or stop. So,
I believe when this all started, at the very first, they led us to believe that if there was growth there, they would look for another building. And then they came back under that special exception and no, we're not going to look for another building.
Yeah, and that was a condition of approval.
That was my hope when it came, and that they would move into one of the other businesses that was in South Whitley that was not was vacant, and actually put their business into the downtown area.
yeah, downtown was explicitly mentioned.
We're gonna have to change our wording on that. We're gonna say you can't have it, you can't increase size at this location, you can't come back to the increase. If that's what the board wants to do. they're just gonna bypass this. I don't care what happens. It's good. I think they're gonna bypass the BZA.
Well, they'd still, whether they're village commercial or general commercial, they'd still need a special exception for the brewery part of it, for the brewing part, right?
The brewing part is not a special exception under,
Also, under
general
general, they
commercial.
can do it even for
Yeah.
special exception.
No, I would like to think our planning commission and our commissioners would not approve a general commercial zoning right in the middle of basically residential home zoned agriculture, but I didn't think they'd rezone village commercial either.
I don't know that the brewing, I mean, I don't know that they'd give up the brewing.
yeah, I mean, without that, it would be,
It would just be someone with food trucks in their house.
My whole thought in this is, now they said they have had permission from this entity and that entity, but I can't believe that the school would let them use their parking lot, seeing that there is a chance of liability if something happens on school property, that's something that the school might be liable for it.
I don't know that do we know how much express permission they have from the school?
Well, and that really doesn't fall, I mean, I don't know if that falls under
It's not really
our
I just don't know
decision
if they
making,
can-
but to prove the point that it is an event center, if you have to have that much off-site parking.
yeah, having adequate parking is something that's definitely a zoning matter, but there are different ways of achieving adequate parking. Typically, we talk about on-site parking, but you might be able to entertain the idea of, on occasion, sharing parking, for example. But again, is it an indication of something else, which is
Did
what we
you
really need to
mention occupancy? How many people? Runs my mind, we did talk about that. I know we talked about the parking there, so many parking places.
Spaces.
But then occupancy of how many people,
They have
Was
30 parking spaces on their.
yeah, but how many people in the
Building itself.
building itself could they have? And if they're
Usually
doing,
fire marshal.
shipping people out, I'm thinking, you know, that.
That would fall under the fire code, and that would be a fire marshal question. Because if they are over their limit on people,
Yeah.
that makes it a public safety
It's
hazard.
not that big of a
So-
facility. If they're bussing people out or picking people up, and moving them out, I'd say that could be a big issue.
Well, if you include the garden area, beer garden, I guess, that adds a lot of space as well. So it's not just enclosed, which is potentially another issue. It's not one that, again, we don't deal with amphitheaters very well. We don't deal with outside uses very well.
Are we questioning whether it's an event center or not?
It's one of the questions.
My experience is that my daughter runs the event center at Pages. They have the opportunity to rent the whole building and bring in a caterer if you want, bring in food trucks. They have their own events, company get together, whatever, picnic, and they'll cater that. So, I mean, you can do it any way you want to, but that's an event center. It's not a restaurant. They don't have a menu they have a menu if you're catering. You can check this, or this, and we'll provide it. But I would not call that a restaurant in any way, shape, or form. A person can't just come in there and sit down and order a meal.
Right.
That's what I would call a restaurant.
Right.
An event center, you rent the building, you rent the facilities, you ask for them to provide the food. Some cases, they don't provide the food. It's too many people.
I think the easiest distinction to make between the two in a way that's going to be easy to understand when people are reading the code or asking for our interpretation or we're applying it is going to be the on-site preparation of food for individuals, not we have this giant buffet that everybody can eat from, but our individual meals being served to people.
In an event center, you don't do that.
Yeah, and in this case, the difficult part is it does both.
They do sometimes, and they don't sometimes.
They
But there
definitely
have
have a
been
menu.
private events where buffets or whatever have been put out, or fundraisers.
And I think the food truck is the biggest
Yeah.
example of that. I mean, never been to a restaurant ever that had food trucks.
Yeah.
Nobody invites competition.
Either way. Uh-oh.
Oh.
Never mind.
That's it.
I wasn't supposed to be here this long.
I'm sorry.
With the special exception of the brewing operation being expired per se, would it be the BZA's request that we send them a letter to let them know that they need to refile for a special exception for that?
Or quit doing it.
Or cease brewing operation.
Cease or come back.
I think for the brewery, but I still think we need to consider the event center concept, so.
Well, I
I
think
guess-
that'll get their attention.
If
That's what
if
they
they
started
intend to
out
keep
as.
having outside food trucks and events, then it needs to be included as a special exception. But I don't wanna put a burden on you guys to police that, because
Well, I think I agree with Liz's summary there of the definition. If you have food prepared on site and being served with a menu, for example, that's a restaurant make. If it's not prepared on site, or if it's maybe not a buffet style, but it's
Not
Provided-
individual meals.
not individual meals, yeah. It's provided to you, not for you. That is more of an indication of food associated with an event center.
what if it's all that?
You could have more than one use in one place.
Okay.
And that, I think, is where we're headed with this.
Okay.
So, so I think what we'll do, definitely the processing of agricultural crops, which is the brewing operation needs to be looked at being renewed. And I think we have enough to say, hey, you are operating in a way that we define as being an event center. It's not all the time necessarily, but it's often enough that we need to address that operation too. So while you're here for that renewal, also file for a special exception for event center. Or discontinue those things that make you more like an event center. That's always an option.
So if they come in and says, I wanna renew my brewing, what options will you give them besides coming to the zoning board? What options will you tell them that they can do besides a special exception?
They
Will
have
you-
to come
Find
or
someplace else to
or
brew.
go somewhere else.
So they can't rezone any way to do that?
If they
There's no rezoning to do that would permit that.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only zoning districts that you'd be looking at would be AG, which doesn't apply, VC, which they are, or to an industrial district, which would be make things even more complicated.
But that used to be zoned AG, correct?
Yeah.
They went from AG to VC,
Yes.
So AG would allow brewing? Is that
But
what you?
not the other
but
stuff.
not the other stuff.
Not the
they
other
wanted
stuff.
to
So you can go home and make some beer in your garage, but you can't serve food.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So brewing, does that mean they can just brew it, or they can not supposed to serve it either?
do. They can. That was part of the tap room thing that they were doing.
Yeah, it
Tasting.
kind of a factory outlet, tasting room, whatever.
But it has to be brewed on site, right? To get the tasting.
Yeah, it's accessory. Same concept as a winery having a tasting room. That was where we put it.
So
So now as a restaurant,
Huh?
So now as a restaurant, they can serve alcohol. They just can't make their own without a special exception approval.
And they knew that when they rezoned. That was very clearly stated
Okay.
to them. That it would be continuing under the existing special exception. I think this gives us enough for to operate with. Obviously, there's still questions. How do we define these other matters, these terms? And maybe we just use this as the touchstone to nail down exactly what we're looking at. bar, nightclub. I think the event center versus restaurant, I think we've got a good working definition on. And then with the special exceptions, it's still going to be your discretion over that as normal. So
As well as conditions.
conditions and so on, reasonably related conditions. So and past history of the operation, I'm sure, will come into play. So
they could serve this brewing, but it has to be made someplace else. Is that correct? They could buy someone else's or
If they have the
move,
right
move it to
alcohol
another,
permit,
move it to another site.
Depending on what their permit is for.
they have to get it through the alcohol.
yeah, we don't have a microbrewery as a use in the zoning code. So you have, in lieu of microbrewery, which most definitions include brewing with tavern or restaurant, we have them separated out. You have restaurant / bar, and the brewing operations handled separately.
But yeah, we can reach out to them and let them know they need to refile for special exception for the brewing operation.
Start
If they do that tomorrow, that'll put them on for the December 23rd meeting, right?
Nah.
You're not going to give them that option.
Uh-uh.
Who wouldn't want to come in the day before Christmas Eve?
Nope.
That would be.
You're gonna make a January Fool's meeting, right?
That means I don't want to do all that work tomorrow, the day before Thanksgiving. So next week I will prepare information to send to them to.
Yeah, and well, with the holiday, nothing's going to happen anyway. If we send a notice tomorrow, they wouldn't get it until Saturday. So.
And you have everything you need. Do we need to take a vote, or
No, you don't
just
need
general
to.
discussion is what you were looking for?
That's exactly what it's looking
Direction.
for. And heads up, be thinking about other ways to define and distinctions, importantly distinctions. It's easy to define things, but the comparisons and how they are distinct from each other is really important. So.
I've never heard anybody say, hey, let's go.
So yes, thank you for entertaining that and giving good a lot of good feedback. I definitely appreciate that. And so the only other thing I had was a reminder that the next meeting it'll be December 23rd. So there may or may not be cookies that show up. We'll see.
You got donuts?
Ugly sweaters and ties.
Maybe Santa will come.
Donuts, cookies?
Wait till you see how I'm dressed. Well,
I can't wait.
I mean,
Do you have a set
No,
of
I-
shoes that curl up and have
Do you have a
bells
white
on it?
suit, a red and white suit?
I might have one of those.
You got a
Might-
white beard?
I'll
Might
bring
have
mine.
access. I could probably let this grow, and it'd be white and long enough by then that I wouldn't need it.
You got a red hat?
Absolutely. Multiple. I have many Santa hats.
Depending on how he's dressed, I may or may not be here. So I'm not sure I can sit by him.
You probably go to Walmart then, don't you?
Right on.
I see some.
Man.
There yesterday.
If there is nothing else,
Somebody, but a woman, but you.
we will adjourn. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Everything's good.
Parking thing?